on a number of issues that have been coming up, Rudy, that we have not had enough time to give it attention that it deserves. So we're hoping tonight that we can have a serious discussion on some of these issues, and the people can interact and give their own comments.
Well, certainly, Scotty. We spoke about the weather today, and you asked me how was the weather. But the weather was, like I said, was okay, pleasant. But we had some sad news this morning being broken. We have the passing of our late Prime Minister. I think he was the first Prime Minister of Dominica. We refer to him as the father of our independence.
Yeah, well, the first Prime Minister in 1978, Patrick Roland John.
He passed away today, and he was the one who brought Dominica into independence. So I think he made quite a contribution to sports in Dominica, and I think we should spend a little bit of time to talk about Patrick John. And I just want to encourage our listeners, those of us who like to share your sentiments on Patrick John's contribution to sports in Dominica. It would be a pleasure, especially the historians that could provide some historical perspective. I know we have an ardent listener in the historian himself, Mr. Francois Barry, and he's no stranger to sports. So I'm putting you on the spot, Mr. Barry. I'm sure you probably would have something to share with us if it's possible, but we'd like to hear what the nation's view is on our late Prime Minister Patrick John, who in 1978 led us to independence on November 3rd, when we had a Declaration of Independence in Dominica. So quite a few things, Scotty. We have the Olympics, which is coming up. We have Dominica, which will boast a team to that competition in Tokyo. We also saw the up-and-coming favorite. She was a favorite. Now she's being banned. Shakari Richardson, who is that 100 sprinter from the U.S. So quite a few topics to talk on this evening, and so we would be happy to engage the general public, but we're going to take a break for our sponsors, and we will be right back.
Over the heat and humidity? Yeah, boy, make it hot. Now's the time to invest in an energy-efficient Lennox AC unit from EMS Limited. Lennox AC Units offers quiet cooling without bursting the bank. Ideal for home or business. Available in a variety of sizes. Installation and servicing by our factory-certified technicians. Choose Lennox, choose EMS, and keep comfortable while in control of your energy cost. Call 255-6813 or visit us in Caneville next to Auto Train. Say goodbye to the heat and hello to perfect air with Lennox AC.
And we say welcome back, and for those of us who are listening on the various frequencies of the Genuine Songs of Dominica Kyrie FM, whether you are on 88.7, 93.1 or 107.9 FM, we say pleasant good evening again and welcome for staying tuned in with us. And for those of us who are joining us on the Facebook Live, we say a pleasant good evening to you as well. We welcome your comments and your calls. And this evening, the numbers to reach us on at Kyrie FM right here in the studios are 448-7334. That's 448-7334 if you want to reach us on the local line. But if you want to do so on the overseas line, you can do that at 305-906-6186. That's 305-906-6186. And those of us who want to reach us on the WhatsApp, you can do that on 613-1307. Again, the numbers to call are 448-7334, 305-906-6186 or 613-1307. Now, Scotty, we identified earlier on that our late Prime Minister, the father of our independence, the late Honorable Patrick Roland John, he passed away this morning at the hospital. I think he was hospitalized yesterday. Yesterday he was hospitalized, and this morning about after 10 he passed. What do you make of the loss of Patrick John?
Well, Patrick John to me was is a great patriot of Dominica, and I like to put on record his contribution to sports in Dominica. But he also did one of the most significant part of his life was taking Dominica into independence, political independence from Britain. So when a person has putting their life on the line to do that human work for a country, and well, certain things happen further down the line, that baby, but he have done good works for the country, and I would like to say on record as a sportsman, because we're dealing with sports tonight, that he contributed really to Dominica being part of CONCACAF, right? The Federation of Football Association as in the North, South, and Central America, the Caribbean. And Patrick John took us to FIFA, so we actually made Dominica a member of FIFA. I think that was in 1982 or something like that.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure of his records as to when it started, when the DFA was started. But certainly we would be hoping to have some members of the Dominica Football Association to come on board and right on the Sports Connection, when we will provide some much in-depth focus. It's only his passing was only recent. Only a few hours ago he passed away, and granted, so we were unable to get the powers and the resource personnel from the Dominica Football Association to provide that perspective for us. But certainly we will be bringing them on board to just put Patrick John's contribution in focus. I say you normally give your flowers when you're alive, but sometimes the legacy to live on, we have to continue talking about it well after they would be dead.
Actually, we have his legacy living on, because in terms of football, the football house in Bavelside is named after him. But
Exactly.
Patrick John, he was a member of Combambia. That was a formidable football team in the 60s in Dominica. So he played a lot of football. And it's also interesting to know that he actually represented Dominica at the national level in football. And he also was a guy interested in cricket. Because I listened to an ex-Dominica player on the radio this morning saying that he was actually a manager of the Dominica cricket team when they toured in 1967. So PJ looked like he had a wealth of in terms of camaraderie, and the spirit of sport was part of it. One of the things I also have to reflect on. Patrick was a man that actually was interested in sports early in his tenure as a politician. He actually set up a stadium at Canefield. I don't know if you,
I'm aware
know
of
about
that.
the stadium.
Yeah, I don't want to say was, but I have been a Seventh-day Adventist from birth, and I remember that there was a crusade at the stadium in the Canefield Industrial Estate, and when I inquired, being the sports person that I am, I'm always curious about sports, and I was told that this was a stadium that would have been started by the Patrick John government prior to the Freedom Party coming into power, and when they married Junior Charles, she would have had other priorities for Dominica and transformed the area into an airport and an industrial estate. So yes, I'm aware of that.
Well, the airport was also part of the stadium, because under the Captain Dick Riviere, the Labour government, that they set up the airport in Canefield. But what I tell you to me that stadium, when I reflect on it, if it was led to its further development, sports in Dominica to me would have gone further, because the idea was to bring in the international teams earlier. We got a stadium later in
2007.
2007, around there.
Yeah.
So you say in the 80s, and you see the amount of years that passed before we were able to see international sports to that level. So that decision, to me, sometimes we are not critique it as a people in terms of Dominica and its impact on sports, on people's life in Dominica and young people. But I personally think that was a mistake. If Dominica and the other islands around us, like the Martinique and Guadeloupe, they were willing to come in and interact and play a lot of football games. And cricket was on the rise in the Caribbean, and we missed out on that level, that era of cricket when cricket was really big and prosperous. All them other islands like Antigua, if you take Antigua, Saint Lucia, Grenada, they had no clue of having a stadium, and Dominica would have been the only island in that sub-region with really a proper stadium. So that is an area that we might have to have a big debate on in terms of what did that prioritization of turning it into
an industrial
estate rather than into a sports complex.
Well, one of the things I always found strange as a young boy growing up, and in the early 90s, I migrated down to the Roseau area, to the urban areas from Boetica in 1989, when I would have started the Dominica Grammar School as a student there. And that's when I was exposed to live cricket in terms of viewership on television.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I noticed was places like St. Vincent and Antigua, they would have had, or whenever the test cricket was being played, you always had the images of the airport and the planes flying and cricket. So I always envisioned an airport and a stadium within close proximity. When I started traveling, I recognized that was something very similar. In Antigua, we had one stadium close to the airport in Antigua. We also have the Annisville playing field in St. Vincent, which is the airport looks like Melville. No, certainly. The people who built those two airports, I think they were the same company because the designs were the same. But right adjacent to the Annisville Stadium was the airport. And so when I started to think about the stadium that was started being built by the late Prime Minister, Patrick Rowland John, I always thought that was it a strategic developmental plan that was happening within the Caribbean context, and or was it just a copycat of what was happening? You understand? So I always had that discussion and tried to envision sports and tourism, which is two things that would have been married. But you mentioned it earlier on, and one of the points that you mentioned was that the late advent of international cricket in Dominica, and had that been built prior to 1980, we would have had more than 20 years. Or let's call it, if it was built in 2080, in 1980, because the Freedom Party won in 1980, they won. So if it was built by 1980, and then in 2007 is when we had the stadium, then what it would mean, therefore, is that we would have had it 27 years earlier. And so international cricket, Dominica probably would have been a better or a more well-known country for international sports.
They had a vision, I think, of making sports one of the top priorities for the young people, and in terms of developing young people. And and even today, I see it as an area of priority in terms of development, opportunities for employment, because right now I am watching some guys play in 2020, and
okay, we have a call on the line. Let's take this caller, Scotty. Caller, welcome to the Sports Connection. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening, caller.
Scotty
and UD.
How are you all?
I'm good. I think you took me up on the challenge, right?
I am not too clear, right?
Yes, I'm hearing you. We are hearing you.
You're loud and clear.
You hearing me?
Yes, we are.
I want to extend my sympathies to Mr. John and his family. And then, of course, when I won the by-election in 1993, Mr. John was the first man to congratulate me, telling me, well done, Barry.
Yeah.
I want to extend my sympathies to him and his family. Then, speaking about Mr. John, he was an avid sports fan, footballer and cricket. And of course, he managed the Dominica team in 1967 with the likes of Augustus Gregor was the captain. You had Clem John. You had Tom Lapper himself, who is assist. Well, Gregor himself is assist too. You had Caleb, Kentish. I call Clem John and Irvin Shillingford, Butcher and Kanhai. They were on the team. And I think the Eldons would have been on the side also.
Yeah, I think only
But he was the
Elwin.
manager in 1967. And then, of course, by 1965, we should have had the Australians in Dominica. Because you remember the Australians toured the Caribbean in 1965 under Bobby Simpson. And, of course, Garfield Sobers was the captain of the West Indian team. And then we won the series 2-1. And that was the first time we ever beat Australia in a Caribbean series. And, of course, the Australians are the likes of Simpson himself, Laurie, Cowper, Main, Mackenzie, Grout, and Peter Philpott, great leg spinner. I think Tom Beavers was there too. And then you had Booth, you had Burge. Australia had a good, strong team.
Yeah.
And then we beat them in 65 for the first time. So by then, Patrick John had already starting to organize the stadium at Kane Field. If you go there now, you will see the remains of the stadium.
The ruins still stand there.
As you rightly said, we should have had cricket since in the 60s, test cricket since in that time, around that time. Because they were already playing cricket at the stadium, you know. But things happened, so we will not have cricket. But Mr. John was a better footballer than he was a cricketer. And of course, he has his name after the football house is named after him long before. And then we should name some other things after Mr. John. Then we still rest in peace.
Yeah, thank you for that insight, Mr. Barry. But you know, one of the things I appreciate the most about Patrick John, one of the things that is lacking in sports in Dominica. Are you going to stay on the line first as we discuss, Mr. Barry? Or are you going to call back? Okay, I think he left us. No, one of the things that I was saying is, one of the things that is lacking in sports in Dominica is the effective structure in sports and sports development. And I say this to say that when we look at most of the associations, we hardly find quality. I don't want to be too rude with my choice of words, but we hardly find quality administrators involved in the administration of those sporting associations. We would generally see players coming on board, players being the administrators or coaches being the administrators, and we would not often find like real managers, persons who have those managerial skills and those leadership qualities coming in to run those associations. This is not true for all the associations, but it is a basic general sentiment. But one of the things I loved about Patrick John was, in spite of the fact that he was prime minister, to serve in the highest office. Well, I don't know, the president office is ceremonially the highest office in the land, right? But Patrick John being the prime minister, which is one of the highest offices in the land, he would have served in that capacity. And then he was a sports player and never forsook sports to the point where he then became an administrator. And you know, he was the manager of the team, like you say, in 1967, as we were informed here by our historian, Mr. Francois Barry. And he also was the president of the Dominica Football Association. Now I can tell you what I observed. Being a John, and I was close to his, I think Renick John is his first child. And I was very close to Renick John growing up when I came into the Roseau area and his family. Some people used to think that I was related to Patrick John, which I am not. But I experienced Patrick John actually literally working from the back of his car, running football from the back of his car. And he would have gone on to achieve so much and then we then had the Patrick John Football House. So he served, I think, 17 years as president of the Dominica Football Association, and he has left an indelible mark on the sport of football in Dominica. And we want to say, as we move from the discussion on football as it relates to Patrick John passing, we want to say, express our condolences to the family and friends of the late Patrick John. We also to the football fraternity, and I'm sure that he was probably revered in Dominica in football, and so we express our condolences. Yes, Scotty.
Yeah, well again, I'd like to express my condolences to Patrick John and his family, particularly Desiree John. Mrs. John, I know good we talk very well. I mean, when I meet her, we have good conversations. Patrick John himself was a man who could speak to him anywhere. I remember going on a seminar with him into dealing matters of solid waste at the time, because he was the manager of the land pool at one time in Dominica. So we actually went to a seminar in St. Lucia, and again, we had a lot of ideas changed here. The issue of sports, he always loved sports, you know, and that came up. And I like to say that he has placed Dominica in terms of a song put in on football, because I've been getting into CONCACAF, and you're getting all these perks and the subvention and the attention from people. Dominica football, I could see that it is now growing.
It has grown.
And you have seen the new executive, Glenn Etienne. Glenn Etienne maybe should have been, I think he was, what do you call him? What do you call him? He was one of the products of Patrick John, because he basically served a lot of the years with PJ at the time as president. So it's nice to see that he has now run with that initiative that Patrick John pushed in terms of football, and I could see there's a better horizon in the making for football in Dominica. So his contribution to sports, to Dominica, as you say, politically, he is part of the nation. Actually, he took the island into independence, and he also have engineered some the areas in his era in terms of the National Commercial Bank that was done under them. He and Vic Privy at the time, and I think he had a lot of input in that development of Social Security. And also remember, he was a union man. he was also fighting for workers' rights at the time in the 60s and the 70s. So all around, I think he has been recognized as one of the 100 great Dominicans.
Great Dominican.
So we could see that he has contributed to the development of this country.
All right. So, but there's another. The sad thing about it is when I spoke to one of Patrick John's brothers-in-law, that is Tiki, because he's married to Desiree John. Desiree John is a Kentish, and Tiki would be my colleague, and he was telling me that one of the sad things is Desiree John is at the hospital as well, because she would have broken an ankle or something. So we just want to reach out to the family of the late Patrick John and say thank you for the contribution that your family has made to Dominica, and certainly we will have some further discussion as we look into the life of the late Patrick John. But we're going to take some word from our sponsors, and we will be right back.
Rudolph Thomas Enterprise in Portsmouth, your suppliers of building materials and hardware products. Over 20 years experience in the business. Rudolph Thomas has lumber and plywood, Portland and tile cement, steel rods, galvanized and fence pipe, and Rudolph Thomas can meet all your wire needs. Galvanized roofing sheets, doors, windows, toilet sets, face basins, and bidets. PVC piping, fittings, and lattice. Check out Rudolph Thomas for ceramic and vinyl floor and wall tiles, nails, nuts and bolts, paint and painting supplies. And check out their line of electrical and hand tools. And Rudolph Thomas is your one-stop shop for hard-to-find items like fiberglass mat and fiberglass resin and welding rods. Go now to Rudolph Thomas on 1240 Bay Street in Portsmouth.
And again, we say welcome back, and we want to remind our listeners that you could interact with us. We're hoping that we have a more interactive session this evening, as was alluded to by my colleague and co-host, Mr. Anthony Scotland. We would like to have you call in, so we just want to remind you of the numbers that you could reach us on. You could reach us on 4487334, or you could do that on the overseas line and reach us at 305-906-6186. And if you want to reach us on the WhatsApp, you could call us on 613-1307 or 245-2929. And so, Coach Scotty, we were talking football, so we're going to stay in the football conversation. But last weekend, we were threatened by a weather system. And, you know, I want to commend the Dominica Football Association for being proactive and calling off the games that had to be called off, but also recognizing that in Dominica we have a rather unique situation with our weather patterns, and on any given day we could have some excessive showers. But they were able to play some games over the weekend in spite of the weather system. But more so, Scotty, what we would like to talk about is Southeast. They drop points again.
So this is somebody beat them in over the weekend.
No, they drew. They drew a match, and Southeast I think they drew a match over the last week or last set of games, and they have been relegated to third place. We've now seen Happy Buffet State. They're now in second place on 25 points, and we have the Central Cooperative Credit Union, Dublin United, or Dublin Sports Club, out of the 10 matches on 26 points. And in spite of the fact that Happy Buffet State, they are now on 25 points, but they have played 11 games so far. And the Southeast Football Club, they are on 22 points. 22 points, and out of 10 matches. So they have one less game to play as compared to the Happy Buffet State. But again, we had seen the defending champs, the two-time defending champs. They were busy staying on top of things, right on top with the Dublin Sports Club. And I think Dublin would have placed second in last year's competition. Dublin, I think they placed second. And so those two top teams, and Dublin boast a lot of national players. There are quite a few national players on their team. And so they continue to play on top. But Southeast dropping points again. Do you think, Scotty, that the Southeast can recover from those recent mishaps?
Well, I think they still have a chance because they have about 7 more matches to go. In that wrong?
Yeah, there are 8 more matches to play.
8 more matches.
Because there are 10 teams, so they play 9 games in each round, and they have only played 1 game in the second round so far, according to the standings that was posted by the Dominica Football Association 2 days ago, and they've played 10 games, and out of the 10 games that they have played, they are on 22 points, and the Happy Buffet State have played 11 games, and they are on 25 points. And Dublin, who has been playing very well, they have played 10 games, so that's just 1 game into the second round, and they are now 26 points. So they are 3 points ahead of 4 points actually ahead of Southeast. So Southeast is gonna have to start to win some games, while they're gonna have to get down on their knees and pray for Dublin to lose some matches. But if they were to catch them.
The team I'm rooting for right now is Buffet State. I think they have been playing a good brand of football, and I like to see that they had some matches last year that they were supposed to win, but they lose them late in the league.
And they literally allow the championship to slip through their fingers. Literally.
I am saying that the Buffet State team, Happy Buffet State, have shown me that they are a champion side. It's just sometimes they don't have luck on certain days, but in terms of their football, in the way they approach the game, they're looking like to me, one of the better football teams in Dominica. You understand? And I'm very impressed with that midfielder that they have. They have been
Anthony Frederick.
Not Frederick,
Anderson Lawrence.
Bonnie and Marcellus.
Oh, Marcellus Bonnie.
Yeah, Bonnie, I think, has been an inspiration on that side. So I am seeing that they are champion. They are champion material, and if they continue to play in that form they are in, Rudy, I see they can emerge as a champion this year.
All right, but you know, one of the things about the football competition that I'm kind of disappointed about is the Ellis Stars team, Ellis Stars Football Club from Lapland.
Yeah.
When they started off with a bang, and I mean they were scoring goals like crazy, and people thought that of the four teams from the East that is now in the national, that in the Premier League, they probably would have stated they have made a big statement and maybe would have stayed up and move forward.
Yeah.
But they continue to remain at the bottom of the table in the relegation zone on only 4 points, having won just one match and drawn one match. And they've scored 10 goals, and quite a few of them were in their first few matches, and have conceded 25 goals, and they are in the cellar position after 11 matches on just 4 points. But we also have another disappointing performance by the Connect 767 East Central team. That's one of the 4 teams also from the East. That's Cassie Bruce based team.
The East Central team, I saw the match against that same early stars from La Plaine at Stock Farm recently, and I was impressed with that team.
And I think they won against 6-1.
They beat them, yeah, and they were running that ball. You know, they had some young strikers up there, and those guys were striking. And I say, I love that brand of football. They move with the ball, they pass the ball, and they are taking shots at goal. And I say, but that team there is an underrated team, because the team really looking like a team that can play football. So if they can hold on LS Stars and give them 6 in a football game, it will tell you that there is potential there in that team.
Yeah, but last year when they came into the Premier League last year, they represented themselves well, and so to have them now in the 9th position on just 7 points, with 2 wins and a draw out of 10 matches, they would have had 7 losses. It to me doesn't spell the quality of football that is being played by that team, and I think Stanton Serafin and them.
Serafin have to. I mean, the coach has. I mean, he has a lot of work to do with those young guys. But all I'm saying that you could see the team has potential for players to develop. Now the coach can just do certain amount of work for you. The individual footballers themselves have to go out there and do a lot of more sweating and more practicing and more, training and studying the game. They need to even know the rules. Sometimes they are questioning the referee's decision, and I wonder what if you play in football, you're supposed to know the rules of the game. You understand?
Yeah.
So the East Central team, I mean, it's not a bad team. The team is developing, and that's their first time in the Premier League. And it is good to see that they have been holding their own
something. This is their second season.
That's their second season?
Yeah.
But I think it was We United that was going there.
We United and East Central both played last season. And then Lapland came in this season. They were promoted to the Premier Division, making it 4 teams now. From the East with the Southeast team from out of Grand 4, and the 2 Cassibros-based teams, that is We United and East Central. And then we also had Ellis Stars from the Lapland area. But
the Ellis Stars is
from
basically a young team.
It's a new team in the Premier Division. I mean, Ellis Stars before, the likes of Dennis Ito and the late Kurt Hector. That was a formidable team, and I think they would have won the Premier Championship as well. And Ellis Stars, we started with the Ellis Stars, and then we moved to the Southeast team, where it was an amalgamation of the players from the Southeast region
But
And,
the Ellis Stars team, they have a lot of guys from Grant who are playing for them too.
No, LA Stars is predominantly the Lapland people.
Lapland,
They
but
have a
tonight
few.
I
They
saw
have a
some
few.
Grant players
They
there.
have a few with the nature of the
Yeah.
of the transfers that can take place. They have a few
Yeah.
persons from outside, but the predominantly are
They came from
a
Lapland.
Lapland team. But Promex Harlem United, they would have dropped points in two matches, and then last weekend they came out and then they defeated Valvoline, and that's a new sponsor. Only recently, We United, they were able to attract a corporate sponsor,
Okay.
and that is one of the brands from the Calnassive group of companies. So Auto Trade, so Valvoline, We United, and Harlem defeated them 3-love. In the other matches on the weekend, we had Petro Caribe Point Michel. They defeated they drew the LA Enterprises Bombers 1-1 as well. And the Bafa State, which is your favorite team, they defeated Essential 1-love. You know, again, the Essential is playing off the edge. We're only edged off there. We have a call on the line. Let's take this caller. Caller, welcome to the Sports Connection. Good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen. What a great program indeed. I'm calling from Connecticut. I am the man Irvin Bibbs Williams, former Dominica goalkeeper.
Hey, what's up, babes?
Mr. Scotland, how are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm alright, you know, babes. What happened, boy?
Boy, right now, we have a lot of rain, man. A lot of rain.
A lot of rain there.
Yes.
But that's how it is, you know, because we had our share of rain and wind. But you know, in the hurricane season,
Yes, sir.
yeah, so you have to prepare for this thing, you know.
Yeah.
But it's nice to hear you because as we were talking football, I know you was one of the greatest of the goalkeepers. And you know,
The best of the Caribbean. Young Dominica team at 14 and a half national team. The youngest Dominica team at 14 and a half. Maybe the whole Caribbean team.
at 14 years.
At 14 and 3 quarters.
Oh boy, I didn't realize that, babes.
No, it's funny. When the Dominica under 16 football team had to go to Martinique,
Yeah.
and Mr. Jacques Postin never picked me. I didn't know why. Because of politics. No, when Martinique beat them 7-0, Clement Corrett was in the. They went to Clement Corrett and Ian Lambert.
Okay.
Now, when they came back from Martinique, Irvin told Augustine, call on the radio and say, why Babes didn't travel? They said I was too old. I wasn't too old. Within 9 months, I come and make the Dominican national team.
Okay.
How that happened here? Because even the referee that referee the match in St. Kitts, Dominican St. Kitts, when he watched my passport, and he look at me and he said, oh, that's a kid. And that is where I get to know Don Yogal was born in Guadeloupe and represent Dominica, the great Don Yogal.
All right.
And the great Coco Show. One thing, Coco Show, they said him, anywhere we're going to play football. Then when we land in the airport, they're asking immigration, is the police came today? They said him, because is the police around today? He can't play tomorrow. They said him.
Yeah, you coming, boy.
Thanks to Barbados, Trinidad, Martinique, Venezuela, Panama, they pay the police. And they said Michael Dutch. But what I really want to say, I want to say my condolences to the Patrick family. We lost a great man.
Yeah.
Great man. Great man. No, Scotty, you make a great point there about the stadium.
Yeah, man.
But I dream that stadium and I was a little boy here. I dream. And I can tell you, none of the island had a stadium before Dominica.
Yeah, that was one thing we missed out on.
We missed out on that big time on our sportsmen.
Yeah, we missed out.
If we had that, Scotty, you know how I'd be flying up and down the place. Because when I performed in St. Kitts, the late Rosie Douglas and Michael Douglas, they were in St. Kitts. And when them people perform in St. Kitts, all the school kids come and ask me, what's my age, you know? You understand?
Yeah.
Now, the bus driver, a Rasta man, I can't remember his name, but a Rasta bus driver, an older man, he said that's his job, to transport all footballers, cricketers to the park to play. Any spot. He said, both came there, Bobo Roy. He said, all these great goalkeepers pass here. Edmond Soso, all them pass here. But he never see a man like me yet. That church sank his grounds. The man tell me what I think Dominica is so good. He bought mutton chicken. I said, mutton chicken. I'm a Dominican, I know what this that. Because I performed in St. Kitts. And when I came back to Dominica, the challenger, what a great man him did, was in.
Yeah, was in the goalkeeper. Yeah.
Great goalkeeper, was in. Taught me some techniques too. And when he came back to Dominica, Watson met me at the airport. So, you know, you're the fireman down there. He said, Bibbs boy, I listen to the game boy, and St. Kitts come and say, boy, there's nothing like me. Nothing like me. Nothing. But I have to give my credit to the best coach. I know what people can say, I always say, Augustus Griffith, Chicky Boom. This man is the best coach, Chicky Boom.
Yeah.
I'm telling you straight up, Scotty, personally. This man used to break me, twist me, bend me, give me techniques. Believe me, I don't lie. Chicky is the best coach.
Yeah. But Chicky has been basically developing women's football over the last maybe decade and a half. I believe closer to 20 years now.
Yeah, almost 20 years.
Yeah, because
they would have won the National Women's League for 10 years in a row, for certainly. But Williams, it is a pleasure having you and to share your little history for us.
No, one more quick thing now. No, I don't know if you remember the Jeffrey Choco, the great athlete for Dominica, Jeffrey Choco Timothy.
Yeah, Choco.
Choco.
I see Choco wrong, you know. Choco wrong.
No, I think it's Mike Rivera, but it was the Choco, the athlete.
Oh, the short Choco man, yeah, he is even shorter here.
No, the short one is in Dominica, but the tall one. I read a program with Emmanuel Lovelock and Mr. Waddick a couple weeks ago. They was talking about athletes, and them man mentioned Edgar. Them man mentioned Bruce Phillips. Harris. How can you tell me, man? Choco, Jeffrey Choco. You don't mention Jeffrey Choco. Jeffrey Choco put all his athletes together. He would make them as Bobby. I remember as a kid in the Winter Park before we came to the bed.
All right, caller. Thank you very much for. Thank you very much, caller. Yeah, somebody's trying to reach us. So, thanks for your input. God bless you, man. Nice to hear from you, Bibbs.
Love you guys.
Yeah, blessings, man.
Okay.
Yeah, Scotty, while we were there on that call, somebody else was trying to reach us. Then they were very persistent trying to reach us on the local line. So we want to just tell the person that you can continue to call, and we will take your call. It was a pleasure hearing from Bibbs and sharing that historical perspective on football. But again, Dublin, as you were saying, before we move forward from the football conversation, Dublin, they defeated the LA Stars, 1-0. Okay, and so we're seeing the team staying close but losing. East Central losing and LA Stars. Now, I'm a man from the East, Scotty, and I would like to see the 4 East teams at one point in time, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I want to call out to the coaches for those various clubs, especially those from the East Central and LA Stars.
Well,
so get some wins under our belt so we could move out of that relegation zone.
I had a team that I find they came out with a bang. We United. And I find this season where they place now.
This season, well, certainly they're ahead of LA Stars.
They are like
we United, Midland United is in 6th position, and we United is in 7th position. They have played 8 matches. They have won 3 and have drawn 1, and they are now on 10 points. All right, so
again, these teams have to step up to the place because they came with a bang and they were right up there in their first outing. I mean, their first round of their first turn up. I think they were in 2nd place at once for quite a while. So I don't know. We have to tell this team that this thing they call sports. The thing I interested is longevity.
Yeah.
You don't come in there and just make a bang bang
and then you stop.
And then you just stop.
All right.
You understand? So we have to continue working hard so that we can bring the goodies to the East.
But I like the tone of what you said, that bang bang thing. We have to start to work for sustainability in sports is something, and we hopefully we will touch on it because we will be moving to the Olympics conversation soon. And
but before we go, there's another team. I think I find that I find it not performing the Point Michelle team.
Yeah, Petro Caribe, Point Michelle.
Where they're standing now in the league?
Petro Caribe, Point Michelle, they are in 8th position. And with their recent win, I think they defeated one of the teams recently. They defeated
and a coach coming after every match saying he's going to join.
They defeated Well, they drew, sorry, with the LA Enterprise Bombers. But they have only won, Petrocaribe have only won two matches so far in this year's Premier League. Petrocaribe Point Michel.
Yeah, Point Michel has not been performing. And Peltier came back to play for them.
They
And
have 2 wins, 2 draws.
He
scored
the last
2
game.
to draw that game against the LA Enterprise Bombers. Yeah, but
So that is why talking about some teams in that team it doesn't grow. They started up with a bang and then they just instead of going up, they readjusting, they're going back down. So we need to get this team to understand that it's a competition and they need to be there competing and competing harder.
Certainly. So like the coach for the Petrocaribe Point Michel is always wanting to go back to the drawing board and he's always confident that the team can do better and will do better. But certainly sports is like a science and then when we touch on the West Indies cricket, I will bring that point I want to make that it's sports now is for the intelligent. But the CONCACAF Gold Cup, we have the preliminary round. 3 teams are vying. Well, out of 6 teams, they are vying for positions in groups A, B, and C. And this evening we will see 3 matches this evening. I'm sure by now the TNT versus the Trinidad and Tobago's match versus French Guiana. I'm not sure of the results now, but ahead of coming to the studios,
That game was
scores
on.
was on, and it was 1-1 going into the second half. We saw a late goal in the first half by French Guiana to equalize that score. But the other matches will take place this evening. We have Haiti versus Bermuda and Guatemala versus the Guadeloupe team, and they will join groups A, B, and C in the Gold Cup competition.
So why Dominica couldn't find herself in that Gold Cup?
Well, the Gold Cup competition, I think qualifying for that area, you have two categories of positions. Group A. When I say Group A, like a League A or Classification A and Classification B. And I'm not sure Dominica St. Kitts has now qualified for them to be, by virtue of their performance. Guyana, I think, by virtue of their performance.
I think the qualifiers, the World Cup qualifiers have a part to play.
I think so. I would need to really research the qualifications and the structure of the Gold Cup.
There we got Monster, isn't it? Monster actually was played against Trinidad in that Gold Cup.
No, well, the Gold Cup competition hasn't really started, but maybe the preliminary rounds.
The first round.
The preliminary rounds, yeah.
Monster played Trinidad.
I think 6-1.
6-1, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was saying, the commentator saying Monster is just 5,000 people are on this island. They had to play Trinidad, 1-point-something million people.
Yeah.
So I said, no, it's not the amount of people, it's the quality
it's not the population,
it's the quality of play.
And the quality of play hinges on the quality of the programs. And that will take us to the Olympic conversation.
But before I run, I don't talk about the Euro because I love the European football too. And Italy is up to the finals.
Italy is
they beat Spain.
They beat Spain this afternoon.
Yeah,
and tomorrow England is playing
Denmark. So
what were the scores for the Italy?
4-2.
I know who Italy was playing again.
Spain.
They're playing 4-2.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of big guns. When we looked at the various commentators and we looked at their bracket, you know, the different brackets as to who they would put in the finals, you were not seeing Italy at all.
No, and Italy is like a renaissance right now with Italy football. And I wouldn't be surprised if they win that.
You don't be surprised. What about Belgium? Belgium people were looking
Belgium was my team
to actually do something because I think Belgium is
the number one ranked team in the world.
Yeah, and so we have a caller and let's take that caller. Caller, we miss you. You could go right back and try again. We miss you. Yeah. So
So what I'm saying, the Italians are playing a kind of football. I mean, a goal I saw a guy, I can't remember his name. The man hammer a ball from outside the box and scored a goal there. They said that was one of the most splendid goal ever in Europe.
Yeah.
And I'm the Italians, they remember they didn't qualify for the last World Cup.
Yeah.
So they realized They have to go back and do
There's
their
a
homework
resurgence. There's a
and come
resurgence.
back to play football. That is what I'm talking about. You're not going to be just there playing and you're not studying what you're doing wrong and coming up with something new.
Now England has always been a major contender in Euro football. I mean, it's one of the most popular leagues on the globe.
Yeah.
But England is not seen or perceived to be that top team, and I think England, if they were to go through Denmark tomorrow, my money would be on England to win the championship. But Scotty, we
Yeah. But England have not, since like about 1960 something, they haven't won a trophy.
a Euro.
European Cup.
All right, then I am up for the research, and I'll take you on a challenge on that. But we were talking about effective programs as opposed to population, and that will take us into the Olympic conversation. The Olympics is scheduled to begin on Friday 23rd of this month, and is expected to end on August 8th in Japan. And Dominica, as of now, well, you cannot have a qualifier after now. Dominica only had one qualifier in Thea Lafont, who's an overseas-based player, and she will represent our country in the triple jump. And Thea Lafont, as of now, is in the top 10 female triple jumpers in the world. And she would have qualified at one point in time. She had the world leading performance during this season. So kudos to Thea Lafont. Now the other individual that we have, and with the gender balance, the Olympics, unlike the World Championship, although you may have to qualify, there are standards, but every nation is given that quota of a male and a female athlete. And so Denick Luke will represent Dominica. And Denick Luke, for those of us who do not know who he is, he's a recent student of the Portsmouth Secondary School. He's currently at school in Jamaica, where he does his training. And Denick Luke has, as recently as I think maybe Thursday, on Thursday last week, I was looking at his progression and a number of races that he would have gone through during the season while competing in Jamaica, and there are 3 of them in that category that anyone could be first. So at one point in time, he probably would win the gold medal in that race, or he come out third or second. But what is key about his performances his performances, they are always improving. So you can see that gradual improvement. And so kudos to those athletes who are now going to be considered Olympians. While we see a number of countries along the world and a number of top athletes like the likes of Serena Williams, even prior to her injury at the Wimbledon, she and quite a few others would have opted not to go to the Olympics. And so those persons who are patriots, who are willing to carry the flags of their countries, and certainly Denick Luke and Thea Lafont, kudos to those people for representing Dominica. But Scotty.
Yeah, but so Dominica, well, as I said, 4 years ago, where we went to, we were down in South America.
Was it Brazil? Was it last year?
Brazil, I think, is some place down there that they had the Olympic took part. And Dominica had what, 2 or 3 athletes?
Yeah, that was Brazil. We had in the Olympics, we had Thea Lafont, we had Eudonis Gracia, and who was the other athlete?
Eudonis
Gracia. He's married to a Dominican. He's what do you call it? Cuban by birth, but he's married to Dominican, and I think he represented Dominica in Brazil in the last Olympic Games.
So what I'm saying that we're not our program in terms of developing.
And this is where I'm going to the conversation. This is where I'm going to the conversation, Scotty. Scotty, I think now that Dominica lacks a proper program for development. By now, Dominica, athletics is an individual sport for the greater part of it, And by now, Dominica should be able to have performances where persons can qualify for the Olympics. All right. Denick Lucas, he did not qualify, but is off by a few seconds. And but just one qualifier. Now the Dominica Olympic Committee and the AAA, or the Dominica Amateur Athletics Association, or the Dominica Athletics Association, sorry, they by now should be able to have a program in place where we can identify our talents, nurture our talents, put a good strategic development plan in place for us to see performances and people qualifying for the Olympics. I think by now they need to rethink. They need to rethink their strategic development plan and
concentrate on a few sports that you can actually.
No, I'm talking about the Athletics Association.
No, athletics,
in
you have
particular.
track and field. What are the areas that you want to concentrate on in track? And what are the areas that you want to concentrate on in the field events? So if Dominicans, I watching events like your shot put. You have a lot of big strong people in Dominica on javelin. Guys, when I was going to grammar school, guys used to set in javelin way over the grammar school.
Yeah, but those standards there, those standards there. If you look at them, they're not the standards now, because our current throwers are throwing further, or we would have had throwers post your era that have thrown a lot further, like
and they're going nowhere.
And they're not going nowhere. What I'm saying is, when you look at, we have this young athlete, I think Andre, I can't remember his surname, but at the youth level, he would have defeated this this Olympic gold medalist from Trinidad. Is it Walcott, the javelin thrower?
Yeah.
And at the youth level, Andre defeated him. Where is the program? Where is the program to transfer our athletes at the Carifta Games, where we compete against the Jamaicans who have found ways to dominate? We compete against these persons in the Caribbean.
Caribbean Islands.
They send the Kitishans, the Antiguans, the Bajans, the Trinidadians, and they are able now to put in large teams. I think, what is the contingent size for the Trinidad team into the Olympics this year?
I think it's 20-something. They just named their squad.
Right, and then and only two of those persons, and I'm sure by now there are no persons who are going on just because you're a Trinidadian. They're going on based on the qualifications. If you can put so many. Yeah. And so Dominica by now should have that. Now, when you look at Dominica track and field, and it's something that the association needs to take this criticism and take it for positive. There are a lot of investments that are being made in our athletes overseas. We have the Dennis Mautiers, we have the Denick Luke, we have the Garcias, Thea Laff. I'm not sure if they're putting any investments into her. But she's a national athlete. She's going to wear Dominica colors in international competitions. We have Andre, quite a few athletes, Davis Mitchell, and these individuals would go overseas and competing in schools and overseas. And when you call a national championship, some of them who are in Dominica, they do not even participate in it.
They didn't take part.
And I think by now the Dominica Athletics Association should make it mandatory for those persons to come to Dominica on a national meet. Yeah. Because how you want to be representing Dominica and you are not showing up? I mean, look at the impact it would make. Everybody knows Thea Laff now. At one point for how many years now she has been the athlete of the year for track and field. I'm doing the National Sports Awards. And imagine Thea Laff is in the stadium with the likes of Udonis Garcia, with the likes of Dennis Maoti, and all the other international athletes. Well, athletes you would have put on the international scene or competing in overseas competitions and going to school overseas and training. When we would have done that, it's going to be twofold. When these would compete for local athletes in the national meet, they will be they are going to pool our national athletes, because our national athletes are going to be competing at a greater, higher level.
Competition.
Right. But more so too, the crowd is going to say, okay, this is the Dennis Maotia. This is the Thea Laff. This is the big names that we hear about all the time. And I can aspire to be like those people, and it would serve as a motivation, as a motivational factor for them to get better. Yeah. You understand? But more so, I, as a person who will never run or never jump, but I would go to the station, go to the meet because I want to see those athletes.
Support the sport.
And then you're going to get a fan base.
Yeah.
And with the fan base, you're going to get this the value for your money when you become a sponsor. And so the programs that we would have started to making those athletes, you now get some form of monetary value from it because the sponsors will now sponsor your programs. Yeah. And so I think the National Association for Track and Field in Dominica should be strategizing differently. They should now start to think of a new strategic development plan for us to be able to have qualifiers for the Olympics.
Yeah, but what I'm saying that we look at track and field. What is it on the track? What you want? Are you going the 100 meters? You're in 400 meters. You are in relays. You are doing 5,000. You're doing, you understand? You're doing 10,000. Where are you concentrating on? In the field events, short put, you have pole vaulting. What happened to the pole vault? I haven't seen that for a while in Dominica where I see guys. I mean, in my days in grammar school, when you have a sports with beauty, it was like a big Olympic competition, you know, among the students, you know. Sports day in the Dominica Grammar School. And you had all these events going on. And you had a lot of competition among houses. And you used to attract people from all over the island to come and watch it. So what happened to us now at a level where you have an Olympic body and you have this events, you have athletics association, what is going on in this country?
Well,
and before I go, Mahotier, I used to follow the man for the last 2-3 years. And I just he just dropped to me, he just dropped by the wayside.
His development, I don't think his times has improved like we're expecting them to improve. Okay. But we want to encourage our callers and our listeners to call the radio to share to share with us and to be interactive with us. But Scott, I'm getting some messages here from some fan and sports administrator, sports coach in Dominica. And the individual says, "Good evening, Mr. John. You guys need to be honest. There's nothing for the athletes when they are seniors. Where are they going to train or compete? You guys must get serious. Where is she going to jump in DGS? In DGS to hurt herself? We have no facility for that, boss. Tell your department to put in the infrastructure. But I want to say there are other countries in the Caribbean without an indoor facility or track, or what I refer to as a synthetic track. St. Vincent of the Bat doesn't have one. And I'm sure if we were to compare St. Vincent's Olympians and Dominicans, we may see the parallels, we may identify the parallels, and we may also identify the discrepancies or where they differ. But we do not necessarily need, and I'm not saying we do not need a track and field. We do not need a track and field venue, track or synthetic track or track and field stadium. But we would like to see, and I'm sure the surface at the Windsor Park Stadium, granted it being a grass track, that we can get in our athletes we send overseas to train, to come back and to participate in our national meet. And it would be a pleasure to see them.
So facilities have been identified as a setback.
You know, so
that individual.
And that individual is very close to the Dominica Athletics Association. So, and
coming back to it now, because as we want it, that was one of the areas that was, again, almost a decade now we're hearing about a track and field stadium or facility for the country. And I heard recently the president of the Dominica Olympic Committee, DOC, that was Billy Doctor, was talking about. He was having a rapper. An opening ceremony, I think he was there.
Yeah, it was the opening ceremony of the basketball.
Netball.
Yeah, the netball.
So he mentioned the issue of that track and field.
But I think I am not
facility.
I'm not sure.
I know. I'm saying that I was saying that we have not been putting a concerted effort to get that facility
But I'm going to say, Scotty,
as a whole country.
but I'm going to say this. I am not going to defend the fact that Dominica needs to have a track and field, because I'm one of the persons who's very strong advocate for sports tourism.
Yeah.
And with a track and with a facility for track and field, and I'm talking about Olympic standard facilities, synthetic track and so forth, and all the other amenities, it can provide an opportunity for Dominica in sports and sports tourism. I'm not going to defend it for that. We need that. But when you look at the programs of the government for track and field in Dominica, which is the secondary schools athletics championship and the independence athletics meet, what you see is the volume of athletes that we see in those competitions are tremendous.
You have
And
people
so-
who want to participate.
And so the association needs to find, as part of its strategic development plan, to be able to capture those people, identify the talents that are within that construct, identify those talents, and find ways to retain those student athletes, and do not let them fall by the way, because from the time those students get out of the inter-school program and the secondary schools competition, from the time they come out, so many of them are lost. You understand? I think the association,
that is what he's talking about.
and that's what I'm talking about.
The
The association
continuity.
needs to put things in place for us to think that, because we imagine having a stadium, and literally, if you're going to build a stadium for us to get athletes, you are telling me straight off, put the cat before the horse. I think the government should be making the investment to cater for the athletes that are there. But you're going to say, go and build a stadium. When you build a stadium, we will get athletes. That is wrong, and that is a wrong sentiment.
But why you make this?
We're going to take a break, and then we will be right back with which more sponsor.
Rudolph Thomas Enterprise in Portsmouth, your suppliers of building materials and hardware products. Over 20 years experience in the business. Rudolph Thomas has lumber and plywood, Portland and tile cement, steel rods, galvanized and fence pipe, and Rudolph Thomas can meet all your wire needs. Galvanized roofing sheets, doors, windows, toilet sets, face basins, and bidets. PVC piping, fittings, and lattice. Check out Rudolph Thomas for ceramic and vinyl floor and wall tiles, nails, nuts and bolts, paint and painting supplies. And check out their line of electrical and hand tools. And Rudolph Thomas is your one-stop shop for hard-to-find items like fiberglass mat and fiberglass resin and welding rods. Go now to Rudolph Thomas on 1240 Bay Street in Portsmouth.
We say welcome back and thank you for listeners. We have a caller on the line. Caller, good evening. Welcome to the Sports Connection.
Yeah, good evening. How are you?
I'm good. This good evening, caller, yeah?
Hello.
Yes, we are here. You can go ahead with your
Go
contribution.
ahead.
Yes, you guys were developing the point, and developing the point of what happens to athletes. I know you were talking basically track and field athletes when they leave the school system, where it is they go to. I have been advocating for the longest while, for as many years as I can remember this my lifetime, that we need, because the athletes come from the communities, and therefore when they leave the school system, the only place that they will go back to is the communities from which they came. And unless we have decent community sports clubs around Dominica, we are not going to be able to develop and sustain. Well, not only develop, but sustain the athletes and their work and the pride, all the pride and effort that they put into it when they were at school. So it seems to me the concentration must be on developing sports clubs around Dominica, district sports clubs, if you will, to continue to build on that, on the talent.
Excellent point, caller.
Hello?
I said excellent point.
Yeah, but we are going around in circles. And earlier on, I joined the program when you were just about when you were speaking or ending your discussion on the legacy of Patrick Rowland John. And one of the things that you didn't mention is that it was under Patrick's administration we have the establishment of the National Sports Council.
Okay.
1976 was made into law, Chapter 3050 of the revised laws of Dominica. I think it's 3050 or 3040. I may have this one a little, whatever it is.
I think you have the date correct, 1976.
Say that again?
You have the date correct. It was
1976.
Yeah.
And here it is, I'm saying so to say. That's how many years now? To this date, that is what?
45.
46 years.
Yeah.
And Dominica was the first.
45.
45. Dominica was the first to have a national sports council in and among the Caribbean islands. Dominica was the first. Yet Dominica is the last country not to have operating national sports council in Dominica. Dominica is the last country in the Caribbean. Yet we have not had a. I'm getting a little bit mixed up there because I'm looking at the television.
A functional sports council.
A functional national sports council.
Yeah.
And I blame to some extent the national associations for it being so today, simply because the National Sports Council would serve as an umbrella body for all sporting organizations in Dominica, would see to it, or would see to a number of things, would oversee their operations. And that is the way it is. That is the way it is. That's the way it is. But really, we need to go back. We need to go and build on the sports clubs, the district sports clubs, and ensure that we develop sports from that level, or continue to develop sports from that level. Because we will continue to have children go to school, perform well at secondary school, and at the end of the day, as soon as they leave secondary school, then they drop by the wayside through no fault of theirs, because there is no correlation. They can't go back. There's nothing that they can go back to, as it were.
All right, then. Thank you, caller.
So that's an important point the caller is making. The idea, well, we talk about your association has to be strong. Working together now with the government sports division, and that is how we get things going. And that's where the national sports policy comes in.
I think we are afraid of our capacity, and I think Dominicans we are often fail to think outside of the box and allow ourselves to be constricted, and so we do not push. We do not value what we have inside in terms of our abilities. And if we push for what we need to get, we're going to make it happen. But I think, to be honest, to the government of Dominica, the Prime Minister would have alluded to this this facility, and we're hoping that one of those days will be materialized. We have a call on the line. Caller, good evening. Welcome to the Sports Connection. Hello, good evening, caller.
Yes, good night.
Yes, good evening, caller. Could you speak up a little bit, please?
Okay. I'm listening to your program, and two things came to mind. One, I think Scotty mentioned about you want to put the cart before the horse. Okay? But let me tell you, and you're discussing sports in general, right?
Yeah.
But let me tell you, I don't know if you all can remember, in the days of the Sun King, what sport facilities did we have? Besides Windsor Park, besides Dominica Botanical Garden.
Yes, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. Every little pasture. Every little pasture.
We have Portsmouth, yes, Portsmouth. I know I played cricket in Portsmouth, and there were two cricket matches that could be played in Portsmouth when the man started at one point in time. At the same time.
Yeah, against this play.
That's wrong. Okay, but Botanical Gardens was the main ground for cricket. And what was our result? We had almost a whole Dominica side on the windward thing. Almost a whole Dominica side on the windward thing. That is performance from people who have put their mind to the sport that they were playing. Okay? Now, we want to build stadiums for track and field. But who, according to you, who are the track and field people who you can see up front that they're going to spend how much of millions of dollars to put a facility in place, and yes, will be on the backward.
Well, caller, I'm not going to say we do not need it. I'm not going to say we do not need it, but what I'm saying, you and I are expressing very similar sentiments. 1 second, caller.
No. We need the facility. Because according to you, that can also bring in sports tourism.
Yeah.
You know, that is also a form for sports tourism. You know, it's like wherever they have the Caribbean school games and whatnot. If we don't have the facility here, we cannot accommodate them.
Yeah, but the players have to start to participate and perform well. The clubs have to develop and show that there are enough. When you're making an investment, the investment is for a big enough set of people. And in terms of, when I say big enough, talking about the numbers. So the association has to ensure that the clubs can develop and the clubs can attract those young athletes that we see going through the school system and capture them and continue to develop them into better performing athletes, and they should not fall by the wayside.
Because let me tell you, I am from Calibish. There is one guy, okay, he was, I think, a grammar school student, and that guy used to excel in all types of art. His name was Gerald Sylvester. I don't know which you can remember him. Gerald Sylvester. He was sports from prolific and athletes when it comes to athletics, running and other things. You understand? And well, I think he had migrated, and I don't know where he is now. But this guy, you know, when grammar school and academy was playing, when they left school, they formed Grammar Academy. Okay? And Grammar Academy football team was a thing to be reckoned with.
A powerhouse,
a powerhouse.
Yeah.
Now you have the both schools there now, and sometimes you don't. There were guys from the grammar school who made Dominican Island trials, you know.
Yeah.
Quickly, you understand? I know that. Now, Scotty and you bear with me a little while.
Yeah, but we only have a few more minutes, and we have a few areas that we have to touch on. So we'd be happy if you could close up.
Okay, I was going to bring in something that I heard that Adam Sanford said last week in connection with affiliation to sports. Let me tell you something, okay? I don't subscribe to that at all. Cricket is cricket.
See if you could wrap up in 30 seconds. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, cricket is cricket. Okay, but I don't want to take too much of your people's time, so maybe another forum, I will let it out. But you know, I don't agree with him at all when he says you have to be affiliated with the Dominican Cricket Association to gain selection on the Dominican Cricket Team. This is rubbish.
All right, we will have this discussion in our next episode of Sports Connection. But it's a good discussion. It will make for a good discussion. So once again, we say thank you, caller, for your engagement this evening, and your points are well taken.
You're welcome.
All right, God bless you, caller.
Okay, Paul. Have a good evening.
All right. Then.
All right.
Yes, we got a rush now. It usually happens like that. But as we were talking the Olympics, we see Shakari Robinson, who is an up-and-coming youngster, female athlete, very youthful in her ways. And she was banned for cannabis just ahead, for 30 days ahead of the Olympics. And she will not be able to compete as an individual, but it will end just in time for her to run on the Olympic Olympic 4x1 team.
What I'm saying that, you see, they have cannabis as a banned substance, WADA.
Yeah.
That's the World Athletic and Drug Association. They have it as a banned substance. I remember now you have free up cannabis for a lot of young people now who can smoke. So where you gonna have
let's go with that. Ginseng is not a banned substance for me and you to drink. But ginseng is a banned substance for professional athletes.
Athletes.
So I'm not going to jump in that discussion. If cannabis remains a banned substance, it is the responsibility of the athletes.
So the
to know
athlete that will do
Now,
that.
Imagine for a joint, no matter what I'm going through, I'm willing to give up my job at the sports division for one joint.
Yeah. So,
I mean, it is our young athletes and our young people have to understand. I mean, Shakari Robinson burst on the scene. She is looking like one of the fastest that we will ever have.
Why?
And that means she's already going to get endorsements that will earn her millions. And you're going to watch me and tell me you're choosing a joint over that. I think our athletes, some of us, we think we will escape with certain things. And we have to take responsibility. Now, she has taken responsibility for her actions and
she acknowledged and apologized. But what I'm saying again, you need to know the rules that you're performing under.
Let me tell you, and I'm sure she was aware of it.
Yeah.
I'm sure she was aware of it. So
but
I'm not going to
my
make no excuse.
wider discussion for it is like
if
if the society now is looking at it as a substance that you can use ordinarily. In other words, like alcohol. If you get alcohol in my system, you can stop it from
Look at that. Look at that, Scotty. Scotty, I'm asthmatic.
Yeah.
I'm asthmatic. And then when I was playing at the UE games, I had to declare. I had to declare on the TUE form, the therapeutic use form, right?
Yeah.
That I use the POF.
Yes. Because
And
they have certain
one of the substances. So I'm taking
inside
that
they have
as
some
medication,
chemicals. Yeah.
and it is a banned substance, and I have to declare it.
Yeah.
So these people have to recognize, and I'm not going to make excuses for it. These people have to recognize that they have to take responsibilities for their actions. You understand?
Yeah.
So it's
So
sad,
I think it's harsh for her to
It's
just the opportunity she had to really burst. I mean, I looking at her and I say, where this woman was? She looking like she was gonna break all these records.
Scotty, we have 2 more minutes, Scotty, and there's something I want to touch on, and that is Kyle KB. Kyle KB is doing some destruction in that KPL. Kyle KB has played 4 games, and he has scored 103 centuries out of those 4 innings. 116, 111, and 108 not out. Last weekend he scored 108 not out, and his other score is a half century. So I mean, Kyle KB has been dominating that KPL, and the Bombers, their team, the team which he plays for, is now 4-4. 4 out of 4.
They in the lead.
They are in the lead, the only unbeaten team in the competition. And to give you a sense, there has been 4 other centuries. So out of the 7 centuries that have scored in the KPL, Kyle KB has scored 3 of those 7. All right, so we want to say congratulations to their team. But Scotty,
before you go, the caller people made an important point about what Sanford was saying, but I see the other way, because I am seeing that if there is a league up in the Kalinago territory, where to me that is where the cricket is, I call it the nucleus of cricket now in Dominica lies right up there. If we have to harness those skills there, it would be to me a good thing to get them affiliated to the Dominica Cricket Association.
Scotty,
and you can actually bring in those guys in to participate at the higher level. In other words, you select like Kai KB.
Kyle KB is in national league.
He's a national man.
Benjamin, Gilon Tyson,
everybody there.
Journalists, all of them are in
So
the national.
you can select some of the better players there to come in to play trials. I don't see that as a bigger problem.
No, but we will have that discussion because I share different sentiment. But Scotty, we are almost. We have only a few more seconds to go. But West Indies team, they lost the series. I mean, West Indies, listen to the scores. And Phil Simmons alluded to that very thing that I was talking about. The West Indies bowling and fielding are commendable.
Yeah.
I mean, in T20 cricket, globally, you had to score 180, 200 runs. And they were able to restrict South Africa to 160, 166, 167, 146, which is the other game that West Indies won, and 168.
Yeah.
And West Indies cannot make those scores. They reached 161 for 2 in 15 overs in the first match. And in the other game they won, which is the 4th match, they scored 167, which is around the same region that South Africa was scoring. And they restricted South Africa to 146 for 9. And then in the last match, South Africa would score 168, and West Indies cannot win that. And I'm talking about intelligence cricket is for intelligent people,
Yeah.
and West Indies have to find ways to win. And Phil Simmons is saying, who is the coach, and I support him 100 million times, that you cannot perform in 2 areas. Cricket has 3 areas: batting, bowling, and fielding. And West Indies have to find ways to do all 3 if they are to
Well,
win.
the West Indies set of players you have there right now. Figure they have to put every ball for a 6 and a 4.
Well, and
That is what Simon had to put in their head. We need to take singles. Singles can also win matches for you. So
Certainly.
that is where our problem is. It's just a mind. A ball you could have hit on the ground and get 2 and 3.
Lack of
You want to hit it for 6
Lack of
and they catch it
thinking.
you right to the
Lack of
boundary.
thinking.
I mean, there's pure rubbish going on.
When you look at
You know?
when you look at West Indies batting, we're batting and we hit 2 fours. Your required run rate is 8. You hit 3 fours already, and you still
You're
looking
looking
for 2 more
for
sixes.
a big 6.
And you just milk the ball in.
And take your ones and your
you
2.
know, and-
So it's
but-
just as you say, it's basically common sense,
But anyway,
intelligent. We need X amount of runs per over. You have the already required run rate. What is your force about West
exactly.
Indies?
But, anyway,
You know?
the West Indies
And
summer series continues with Australia. on
Australia is in
Friday.
the West season
On
also.
Friday, yes. And on Friday, they will be starting the first of the 5 T20 series. And we hope that West Indies going ahead of the World Cup, that West Indies can find ways to do well, to perform well in those 3
Well,
areas.
Actually, West Indies have been they improving their ranking after that series. They are now ranked about 7. Australia is 5. So
Let's see what
we
we
see
can do.
West Indies again. If they use and their intelligence. I mean, what is guys? I don't understand. What is all this coaching and thing we have? Would you? I don't wonder what is the use of having to pay all these coaches for? You know.
Well,
I mean, when I was back there, I got no coach. You know.
I think the players.
Yes,
I think the players who are there has the talent. They have the talent. I just don't think they apply themselves properly. And if you ask me, I think they're not thinking cricket.
Yeah, because you have a simple game to win. So it's time to leave.
It's time to leave.
Time to leave the studio.
But
I would say that West Indies, if they apply themselves in that, at least in that format of the game, they should be able to beat any side in the world.
All right. So we say thank you, listeners, for joining us, and thank you for callers for your contribution as we come to the end of this evening's program. And it was a pleasure having you this evening. So we're looking to join you. We're looking for your presence next week when we continue with the Sports Connection. A pleasant good evening.